Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today, we are discussing our first movie. We've been planning on doing these for a long time, and we kind of couldn't figure out where to put it into our schedule. But we figured now that we are a little over a year into podcasting and have, a good amount of stuff under our belt and how we like to analyze media, we thought now would be a good time to branch out.
We'll be doing these quarterly, like the books, so every couple of months you'll get to hear us discuss a movie that we love that the other host has never seen before.
And I got to pick our first movie, mainly because we already had our list set. Mm-hmm. And then I sent you a clip on TikTok that happened to show up. TCM just started posting clips of this movie. And you're like, I need to watch this. I'm like, I'm not going to complain if we make this the first one because I've watched this movie God knows how many times.
It works out because I chose the first book.
This is true. It does work out that way. So our first movie is What's Up, Doc, which is a screwball comedy from 1972, which was directed by Peter Bogdanovich and stars Ryan O'Neal, Barbra Streisand, Madeline Kahn, and Kenneth Mars. And here's my attempt at a synopsis, because how do you summarize this movie? It's hard. So, What's Up, Doc follows the patrons of the Bristol Hotel in San Francisco who all have one thing in common. They carry identical suitcases. Dr. Howard Bannister is visiting the hotel with his fiancée Eunice in hopes of securing a grant to further his studies in musicology of igneous rocks. Judy Maxwell is a lost soul looking for somewhere to belong and to finally fulfill her father's desire of her becoming a college graduate. Throughout the weekend, Howard and Judy's cases get mixed up with two other identical cases, one carrying precious jewels and the other secret government documents. And they're thrust into an adventure involving the mafia, their undeniable attraction to one another, and a car chase through the streets of San Francisco.
A car chase.
I timed it. It's 10 minutes.
It's 10 minutes?
The car chase scene starts at 1 hour and 6 minutes and ends at 1 hour 15 and change. So I thought let's start with the fun facts for this one rather than me kind of sprinkling them in there, because I think we'll have some stuff to talk about. And I got most of the fun facts from some colloquial knowledge, because this is a movie from 1972, so this movie came out long before either of us were born
or thought of.
It's a movie from my childhood, because my dad showed it to me when I was a kid, and it just became one of our favorite movies. So some is more colloquial knowledge that he learned and told me, and then some stuff is from a behind the scenes thing that I found on YouTube, and then other stuff is from Barbra Streisand's memoir that I didn't read the whole thing because it's huge. So long. It's so long. It's the audiobook unsped up is 48 hours.
That's crazy. That's like one of my fantasy books.
It's 1,000 pages. Like the physical book is 1,000 pages. So I was like, I tried to read the book. Like I tried to actually listen to it at once. But then it didn't actually work out. And so I ended up just listening to this chapter. To be fair, for a chapter that I think was 1 hour unsped up, I listened to it at 2 times speed. So it was still a half hour. Maybe 10 minutes of it was actually about this movie.
That's insane.
Her book it's so long-winded, but so I'll kind of go through. I do have quite a few fun facts just to kind of bring in some things about this. So Howard Bannister, played by Ryan O'Neal, is named after Howard Hawks, who was the director of Bringing Up Baby, which is a movie it's from 1930s. Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, I think, or Audrey, one of the Hepburns. Hang on,
Audrey. Don't add another Audrey into the list. Can you imagine?
Nope. Katharine Hepburn. There we go.
It's Katharine. Okay.
So Bringing Up Baby is from 1938. Starring Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. That's the movie that this is loosely based on, like those character dynamics.
So original movies never happen then?
No, nothing's original.
Nothing's original.
Everything's based on something. So Howard Hawks is the director of that film. So Howard is named after Howard Hawks. And apparently Judy calls Howard Steve because Howard Hawks' wife called him Steve.
Oh, that's cute.
So that's a little nod to that. So a lot of that dynamic is based on Bringing Up Baby. The reason how this movie came about, though, this part is according to the Barbra Streisand memoir. So this is her account of things. The movie kind of happened because she was trying to smooth something over with Warner Brothers for Elliot Gould. There had been some kind of instance with a film he was working on for them, and basically he owed them a lot of money for holding up production. And the agreement was basically that she would kind of take over and like do his movie instead. But she didn't want to do that movie, so she just kind of ended up in a one-picture deal with Warner Brothers.
Gotcha.
So she pulled in Peter Bogdanovich because she knew she wanted to work with him, and together they developed the beginning of what would be What's Up Doc. Barbara and Ryan O'Neal dated before this movie filmed. They didn't stay together very long, but they did date. I find that fascinating. I did not know this. She did a lot of her own stunts in this movie.
She did?
The motorcycle part is her, which makes sense. It's a one shot. They track her. There's no place for them to cut for a stunt double. So the part at the very beginning when the motorcycles drive past her, then crash into each other, that's her.
I love that.
That seems really dangerous.
It is, but it's the 1970s.
This is true. So Peter Bogdanovich was very particular about how he liked to do a lot of things. And from seeing the way the stuff in like the behind the scenes, because he would like do a lot of the stand-in work for the lights to kind of help people with some of the movements, and he would kind of give ideas. He for line readings occasionally. It gave me a lot of the vibes of, there was the documentary about Howard Ashman that was on Disney Plus that I think they took down. Okay. But it had in it a demo of him singing Part of Your World, which basically is all of the inflections that we hear in the final version. So it gave me that vibe of he knew his material so well, he knew exactly how he wanted things to go, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the people you're working with.
Very true.
Yeah. One of his directions apparently to Ryan O'Neal was to be more like Cary Grant, which he didn't know how to do. So he arranged a meetup between Ryan O'Neal and Cary Grant so he could get it better.
Okay, then.
I don't know how successful that was, but I think that's hilarious. One thing I do find really interesting, though, because this ended up being the third highest grossing movie of 1972.
Really?
It was that well received.
It's so good. Like, I'm not surprised.
It's so good. My dad, like, this is something like he says a lot when he went to go see the movie. I think it's during the shootout scene in the mansion or during the car chase. I can't remember which one. Mm-hmm. But at that point, my dad, like, there was so much laughter in the audience that it pulled him out of the movie. He just watched everyone around him laugh, apparently.
That's hilarious.
But apparently, while making the movie, Barbara didn't think that the movie was all that funny. It's like she wasn't getting a lot of the jokes. She wasn't getting a lot of the humor.
But her delivery!
She's fantastic. And like, but she's also like her own worst critic, which a lot of creatives are, but even still. And then an early screening didn't do all that well. And she was at a point where she needed money. Like she had her initial like the stuff that she got paid for, but then in the contract she would have gotten like a 10% share of the profits.
Oh wow.
But because she needed money immediately, she sold that back to Warner Brothers to help, pay off whatever money she did in the meantime, ultimately losing out on millions of dollars in the long run.
Because like not understanding the lines, when you have lines like Eunice, that's a person named Eunice, is wonderful. Like I thought that was so fucking hilarious. Because it's very much like, that's a person named Eunice. You don't see that very often.
No, exactly. Well, there's a comedian that I think you've seen her videos too on Instagram or TikTok. She, the character is Lucy Darling. She's a comedy magician.
Yeah, I think I've seen her.
So like, she does a bit where she does a lot of crowd work, and she's
so funny.
She's so funny, and she asks people like, I don't know what the point in the whole act is of the crowd work, but she asks people like their name or their occupation, whatever, and she just get weird names. They're like, what's your name? Clem? Someone named a baby Clem.
Exactly. And it's so funny like, too when she's talking about the jobs too. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, what do you think? Do you think I don't know what that is? She's so funny.
I love her so much. But it's that kind of, it's like, I completely agree. Eunice, it's a person named Eunice. It's such a good, quick line. This is also why I love this movie. It's fast, and I talk fast.
It's very fast. Like, it was so good for like my neurodivergent brain, because pacing is a problem usually in older movies. Usually. It's a problem in modern movies too, and I will die on the hill that some movies have horrible pacing, and that's why, and I don't understand why people like them when there's bad pacing. Like, people be like, that's the best movie ever, and I'm like, the pacing was horrendous. What are you talking about? I have issues with this. And I think it's my attention span.
No, that's fair.
Them talking so fast and the jokes happening so quickly, it scratched the itch in my brain. And it was so good. So if you have ADHD, watch this movie. You will be so happy. In parts.
It's in parts. This movie was actually Madeline Kahn's first feature film.
Really?
So the credits do actually list her as introducing Madeline Kahn, which makes sense. She had done a short film beforehand, and she'd done stage work beforehand, but this was her first feature-length film.
Wow, that's impressive, though.
She does amazing in it. Also, if you've seen What's Up, Doc, Madeline Kahn plays Eunice.
But can you imagine getting your first ever like theatrical job, and you're in a movie with Barbra Streisand?
It's great. I mean, back then she was popular, but I don't think it's to the same extent as it was as it would be now.
But like, then you get to look back and realize that your first role like that was with Barbra Streisand. Like, it's a historical thing.
They were all about the same age. Like, they were all like in their late 20s, early 30s when they filmed this. And actually, Madeline Kahn passed away kind of young, actually. I want to say in the early 2000s.
I take that back about looking back on your life. I'm sorry. Like, that's so messed up.
She passed away in 1999. She was
okay.
How old was she?
That's enough time to be able to look back and enjoy aspects of your life. I think that's long enough.
Yeah, she was 57. She died of ovarian cancer.
Aww. I still constitute that many amount of years was enough to be able to look back. Oh, yeah. Though. I'm not horrible.
No, you're good. So this is also a thing of something that comes up a lot in Barbara's book is like the notion of whether she was difficult to work with or not, because it really depends on who you talk to, but also depends on how that person likes to work as well. Because if you don't like working with people that have opinions, that's a you problem, but then you're going to think she was difficult to work with. And apparently there was an article at the time that tried to play off her asking for a different bathtub for the hotel room scene. They tried to play that off as like a diva moment, when in reality, the tub itself wasn't deep enough that the bubbles couldn't actually like cover her breasts.
Yeah.
She wanted a tub that would cover her body. That's not a diva moment to me personally.
That's protecting yourself.
That's a very worthwhile thing to ask for.
Gotta love the 1970s.
Yeah, but apparently when he falls, when he like trips over his pants and then falls down, he did hurt himself. Like I think after filming, he had to have surgery. She said,
"That's crazy."
Yeah. And then this last thing that I have, which just it makes me laugh because I love the scene. So in the shootout scene in the mansion, when the case frenzy is happening, there's the line I think he hits somebody with a lamp and then it swings back in between them. Mm-hmm. And she goes, having fun? And he goes, I can't find my rocks. That is one of my favorite moments in the entire movie.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's timed so well. They tried so many different ways to get that to land properly, because they kept deciding maybe to stop it in between them. But then you have the lamp kind of cutting across his face, which is not good comedy or good staging for that matter. But apparently I Can't Find My Rocks kept breaking Barbara. She kept laughing. And I love that line so much.
It's a good one. There's so many good ones. And like I told you before, I stopped writing. I have like 3 lines because I kept reaching a point. I couldn't just sit and watch the movie because I wanted to write everything down, because the lines are just one after another. So fast, so fucking funny. Like, it's so
which ones did you catch?
I did, of course, Eunice. It's a person named Eunice. I don't know who he is, but I hate him. Couldn't I just kill her? Those are the ones that I thought were important for some odd reason.
No, but Couldn't I Just Kill Her is better, because what leads up to that is when they're trying to figure out what he'll do, like, because that's the jewel thief situation, because there's so much going on in this movie, which like we're really not doing. You really need to watch this movie to understand half of what we're saying. But
honestly,
it's the leader of the jewel thief heist situation having this really bad German accent. It's the fact that it leads up to you will tell her you are Schmittenwischer and you will make passionate love to her. Couldn't I just kill her?
Right?
Like, it's that lead up makes it so good. Do I even want to count how many lines I wrote down?
There's so many. I couldn't keep going doing that. But I mean, I have other funny things that I'm just like, use your charm. Immediately trips her. I did write at one point, I'm in love with Barbra Streisand, which I feel like is important to
I have
put
28
out there.
Different lines written down.
Holy shit! Are we just gonna do a speed run?
But again, we can do a speed run, but again, I have the benefit of I can write them down without having to listen to them.
Like, I really did love Streisand in this. So at one point I also wrote, it's okay, I'd kiss Streisand as well. Okay, but her legs in this, specifically like in that towel, they're so pretty, and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
There's no normal way of saying that.
No, there isn't. But keep going. This is the roof, the unfinished floor scene after the piano. I'm assuming, right? Is what you're talking about?
Okay. I think so.
That sounds right.
Also, but although she is in a towel for a good portion because she's in the bathtub and then suddenly she's not. She's out on a window ledge. And I don't know. Like, I think her legs are pretty. And I don't know how else to phrase that without it sounding...
We're appreciating her form.
Crazy. I mean, I can't be the only sapphic out there that there's just, like, specific body parts that you're just like, oh, I like that. And it's not sexual body parts.
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. I'm not crazy. Me trying to go into even more crazy... Okay. Thank you. I don't feel as bad now.
I can appreciate someone like that puts care into their eyebrows. I don't know what it is.
And over here obsessing over my eyebrows this entire time too. It's hilarious. But yes, that's just, but also who carries jewelry around like that?
She's like a socialite. That was the thing. Well, because she also says like she wants it in like the hotel safe.
Yeah, it just made that part just frustrated me, but it's a comedy, so I feel like it's allowed.
It's a screwball comedy. A lot of random stuff happens.
But yeah, no, I don't have I didn't write down a ton just because I kept enjoying it so much. I couldn't pull myself away constantly to write things down. I just couldn't.
No, I mean that's a good sign. Do we want to do a speed round of
please do
okay. So
I'll just be cackling over here.
Okay, so very first we just have put these things in a taxi. Yes, Eunice. And then this is the one I texted you because you texted me there's so many igneous rocks. And I wrote down, I hate it when my igneous rocks are even touched. It's just...
so good.
The line readings are so good in this movie. Thank you, Hans. Fritz. What happened to Hans? There is no Hans, madam. There is only me, Fritz. Oh, what a shame. Did you know that 3% of all fatal accidents happen in corner drugstores? Is this the kind with buffering added? How much do I owe you? $68.29. I beg your pardon? $68.29. Well, how much is it without buffering? Because he was trying to buy, she was trying to get the radio also, and it's just that one's funnier with context. But either way, that whole thing, But then also you got later with your own fiance calls you Steve. There's just so many things in this movie that all come back around, and it's a lot. As the years go by, romance fades and something else takes its place. You know what that is? Senility, trust. That's what I meant. I'm also laughing as I'm doing these.
They're so good.
Well, I thought I'd say something like, hi there, Mr. Larrabee, I'm Howard. You're not, I'm not Howard. You're not going to say, hi, my name's Howard. Anyone can say that. Anyone named Howard.
Oh my God.
You're upside down, sir. That's one that my dad and I say. We randomly, whether there's any context for it at all, that one, and then what kind of wine are you serving at table 1? Because some of my favorite lines are ones that have just become stuff that my dad and I just say.
Yeah.
Because what kind of wine are you serving at table 1 is when the waiter sees the entire table for reasons that I'll talk about later. They're under the table talking rather than at the table. I'm realizing I have to give context for most of these things.
Some of them actually do need context.
This is not a movie that people have just seen, I would assume. But so my dad and I thought I had dropped an M&M or something at Thanksgiving, and my brother's dog was there, so we didn't want her to eat it. So he and I both go under the table, try looking for it, and we're down there for a good couple of minutes. And at one point, he just says to me, "What kind of wine are we serving at table 1?"
It's so good.
It's become ingrained in our lives.
Which is, I love when stuff like that happens, though, because Lord of the Rings type stuff is ingrained in ours.
Yeah.
So you get you shall not pass at least every now and again.
Part of the big conflict in the middle of the movie, at least, is that Judy impersonates Eunice and goes to the foundation dinner to kind of help Howard get his grant, kind of thing. She's a lot more charming than Eunice. She's a lot funnier. She's quicker on her feet. So she has and this is the 70s. They're not checking ID. So the next line is once Eunice has made her way downstairs, I am not a Eunice Burns. I am the Eunice Burns, which, to be fair, how often are you going to find more than one?
Honestly.
Not very often. This is one of my favorite lines. This is when they're under the table, and because he's trying to convince her to leave, and she's like, "You don't want to marry someone who's going to get all wrinkled, lined, and flabby? Everybody gets wrinkled, lined, and flabby by next week." And then part of the ruse is that she keeps telling Mr. Larrabee is the foundation guy that they're trying to get the grant from. She tells him to call her Burnsy, and he just yells, "Nobody is Burnsy." I don't know why I think that's funny.
Because it is.
And then this one's a callback to the very beginning of the movie when Eunice sees Judy and Howard the first time, and she says, "Don't you know the meaning of propriety?" And then she gives her the dictionary definition of propriety. Mm-hmm. And so at the very end of the giant scene in the hotel room where everything's exploding and as stuff is happening, you have Miss Burns. What are you doing, Mr. Bannister's bedroom? Don't you know the meaning of propriety? It's so good. This thing's like there's both physical and just quick-witted humor in this movie, which just makes it all come together so good. But the next day, after the hotel room has essentially been destroyed, you have the manager of the hotel saying, "We would appreciate it if you would check out." When? Yesterday. That's soon. I just wrote down Mr. Frederick because Mr. Larrabee keeps telling him to call him Frederick, and he just can't seem to do it. And then during the mafia scene, because I'll talk a little bit more, I guess, after this about what the whole thing with the cases ends up being. So, how dare you? So I think I wrote down strain. That's not the right word, but something. He just keeps calling Eunice a brave, unbalanced woman.
Yeah,
I find it funny. And then the chase scene happens, and they're just being chased through the streets of San Francisco in various ways. I can't see anything. Well, there's not much to see, really. We're inside a Chinese dragon.
That was so funny. I actually really loved the whole chase. Was so much fun.
It's such a good chase scene. And then what I mentioned in the Bob's episode we just recorded, the stairs, right before it is, "Okay, I'm turning," because literally we do that whenever the GPS tells you to turn left. My dad or I will just say that. "Okay, I'm turning." The three of them in the back of the mafia car. "Who cares who she is? We're going to be killed."
Yeah.
We can make it. We can make it. I don't think we can make it, as they land in San Francisco Bay.
Yep.
All the time. This is one you've heard me say before. Mm-hmm. I'd like to send them to an island somewhere wrapped in heavy chains.
Yeah, you have.
Compassion. I just have too much compassion. You've heard me say island wrapped in heavy chains, because now you know where it comes from.
Now I do.
Oddly enough, we say you made me smash my lifesavers a lot. I don't know why. And it's never, we never break anything. It's just like whenever someone gets like excited about something, we just go, "You made me smash my lifesavers."
Makes sense.
We picked some of them out of San Francisco Bay. Entering the country illegally? No, sir, they drove into the country, into the bay. I already said your own fiance calls you Steve. No, the one who isn't my fiance is also the one who isn't my wife. Do you follow me? Because Howard's account of the entire story makes no sense. No. And then he continues on, "Is that clear? No, but it's consistent." And this one doesn't work without the accent. So the guy that Howard is fighting for the grant has a very heavy Croatian accent. His name is Hugh, but he pronounced it you. So we have, "I am you. You are me. No, I am you. Stop saying that. Make him stop saying that." And then this is probably my favorite. It's a great reference. This is one of the very last lines of the movie. "Love means never having to say you're sorry. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
Mm-hmm.
Because, for those who do not know, that is something that Ryan O'Neal says in Love Story. So that's all the lines that I wrote down. That's not even my notes.
So many.
It's just the lines, because I love this movie.
I know, I'm slacking over here.
You're not slacking. You have thoughts. But it's... Because, okay, so let me explain for the listeners 30 minutes into the episode. The cases. So Howard has his igneous rocks, Judy has her stuff, and then there was always the jewels. That was always a thing. It's a woman that's at the hotel that has this case of jewels, and the manager is trying to steal them for the mafia. That's a counterpoint in there. And then it was added later, this extra plot of the secret government documents, because they thought they just needed another case to kind of add to the chaos, which I would agree, because
it was so chaotic.
I did figure out who had which cases eventually.
Really?
Because playing Find the Cases is hard. It's hard because by the time we get to like the scene at Mr. Larrabee's house, I think is where I wrote it down. Yeah, by the 45-minute mark, the jewel thief has the rocks, Howard has Judy's clothes and the documents, and the golf club guy has the jewels. And then, so then once you see the documents guy like sees a case and grabs it. So by like the scene when the hotel room explodes, so Jewel Thief has the rocks, Howard has Howard has the documents, the golf club guy has the jewels, and the document guy has Judy's things.
That's crazy.
I was able to figure that out. But I've also watched this a million times.
Oh, okay, no, that's the answer. That's the answer.
I've watched this movie a lot. Like,
yeah.
What did you think of the scene where the hotel room basically explodes?
Oh, it's hilarious. Like, It makes me think. Remember when we watched the Turkey in a Can episode, where you're like, it's like that scene in the bathroom. It's like a work of art and needs to be framed. I felt the same about the hotel room.
Okay,
I'm like, this is beautiful. I love how they did it. It was just a lot of fun. And of course the lines following when the guy's like, you need to leave.
Yes.
It was really good. I feel the same way about the hotel though. The hotel room as I do with that. That makes sense.
I like that. I like that throughout that the waiter is just picking up the stuff off the table because he sees they're going to need like the tablecloth or like the ice bucket to like try and put out the fire because like Howard's trying to hide that Judy's there with the TV and it's too loud, and then they pull the cable out and it sets things on fire, and then there's so much stuff. Judy's on the ledge, but when Eunice is threatening to count before she comes in, and don't count, Eunice, I hate it when you count, is something my dad says all the time. But for my 21st birthday, I have a point here. My dad started sending me screenshots or GIFs of numbers, like for like 30 days out for my birthday. All with the intent specifically of having the screenshot of Eunice yelling 5 be 5 days till my birthday.
Like that was the only reason?
He had a long game plan. He did it for 30 days with the intention of Eunice Burns yelling 5 be like 5 days till my birthday.
That's a whole nother level of dad joke. Like that's a whole nother fucking level of that. And it is master tier level.
It was phenomenal. Because I didn't see it coming. I should have, but I didn't.
How did you not see that coming?
Because I hadn't seen the movie in a while. It's like I watched that movie a lot recently, like not just for this. But this movie is important. It's you got a glimpse into my childhood basically.
Yeah.
With this movie.
Makes so much sense now.
Well, because does having seen this inform why I like certain Bob's episodes more than others?
Yes. I'm seeing it's so funny when a stylistic choice that we enjoy is just based on what the fuck we watched as a kid.
Right.
Because I have that same thing, but mine go more towards a horror aspect. Scare, like there's certain things I really enjoy that you probably would hate. Yeah. It's like, nope, not.
But knowing that, like, you like Bob's or like Ghosts, because that Ghost in a way is a screwball comedy.
Yes,
very much so. That same kind of things. Like, it definitely informs. Like, I knew that you would at least appreciate the style of comedy. There are some things from here I'm like, yeah, this is the 1970s.
Yes,
like. We're going to talk about pacing when we talk about scores later. This whole movie takes place over the course of 2 days.
Yeah. And like you have that normal, like usual stuff in movies at this time with like a very long opening credit that's changed over time.
Yes.
But it used to be, like for a very long time, I think into the 80s. So even some of the movies I like in the 90s have a really long opening credit sequence. Yeah. And it's just, that's where I get annoyed with pacing. Like older movies are going to have it. I don't like it. They're going to have it. I like the ones that, really kind of get as much storytelling time for themselves as they can.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like this movie, like the main purpose of it is to make you laugh. Like it's a lot of caricature type personalities. You have Hugh Simon with his whatever. I'm assuming that's a Croatian accent. I couldn't tell you. That was Kenneth Mars, which you've heard his voice. I don't, because have you seen Young Frankenstein?
I don't know.
It's the Mel Brooks with I think Mel Brooks with, like it's
that one I have not seen.
Gene Wilder and all that. You haven't seen that one? Okay, because Madeline Kahn's in that also. I haven't seen actually. That one. But you have seen The Little Mermaid, I believe.
Yes.
Kenneth Mars plays King Triton.
What?
The man who plays Hugh Simon is also the voice of King Triton.
That hurts my brain. What?
It's almost like 20 years later, his voice is different. He's clearly putting on a different kind of voice because he's a very good voice actor, like the way he changes his voice, because even in Young Frankenstein, he sounds vastly different. But yes.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that constantly is mispronouncing Howard Bannister's name and going, like, no, really, music from rocks. Like that. Yep, that's King Triton for you.
The more we get into TV and media, the weirder it gets.
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird. It is such a weird community, but I love it so much.
But I love that a crux of this movie, I mean, not love, but like I found interesting that this is the first time I'm kind of putting this together, that a good crux of this movie, though, is the fact that Judy is kind of homeless.
Yeah, I'm like, I enjoy her. I love her. But like, it really is the whole time until you find out who her dad is. That you're just kind of like, what is this girl's deal? Is she?
Yeah.
This is she's a manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
She's a manic. That's exactly what she is. Not saying that that's a problem, because sometimes characters like that are actually really fun and kind of enjoyable to watch. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like Zooey Deschanel was, pretty much typecast as that for the longest time. So it has its place, but she did it really well. The humor is what does it. It's the humor.
Oh yeah.
If the humor wasn't delivered the same way, I don't think it would have felt the same.
No, I completely agree. I did write down, because again, I'm doing a lot of stuff for the first time, despite how many times I've seen this movie, but I actually wrote down how many different like college classes and colleges she mentions throughout the movie.
So many.
So most of them are in that one chunk, but she does mention one towards the very end. So she took political science at Colorado State, advanced geology from Wellesley, musical appreciation from Bennington, comp lit from Northwestern, archaeology from Tuskegee Institute, general semantics from University of Chicago, veterinary medicine from Texas A&M, and new math from Mount Holyoke. So that is 11, I believe.
And she's off to go to another college.
Oh, it's 8. Sorry, it's 8. And then she's off to the Conservatory of Music from Ames, Iowa, which I'm aware. I'm sure it's just like the Ames Conservatory. I don't think we ever get a name for it. But every time I think of a music conservatory, have you seen the movie Some Like It Hot?
I think so. Have I?
That's
I don't know.
That's Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. They dress as women to avoid a mafia hit in the 1920s. Marilyn Monroe is in it.
I might have seen this. It's just probably been a while.
Possible. It's a black and white movie from
it's black and white. At some point.
But so anytime I think of any music conservatory, I think of specifically their cover story being from the Sheboygan Conservatory of Music.
Oh my god, not Sheboygan.
That's not the answer, but like that's what it feels like. It's odd that there's a piano just on an unfinished floor of the hotel.
It's a little weird.
As a kid, I used to think that scene was romantic. Like I was like, "Oh, this is like I like this," and I'm like, now as adults, I'm like, I mean, they needed a chance to let Barbara sing outside of the credit sequence. That's what this is.
That's all that was. It was cute. It was fun. It was a little weird, but
I like that in between, like she goes like, "You must remember this," and then she tells him which chord to play. But I do love that Mrs. Van Hoskins, she waits because they're on the 17th floor of the hotel.
Yeah. She
waits 17 floors to have her tantrum in the lobby.
Oh, she does.
We love a dramatic queen.
That's like, a lot. That's a long time to like hold that in.
It is.
That's actually really funny. That's a lot.
It's a very long time,
especially for an elevator. Then.
Yes, especially it probably took a long time. Also, considering the elevator took him up at first.
Mm-hmm.
So, so many of my notes like I remember this being funnier when I was 8, but like I've also seen the movie a lot. That makes sense. So the grant that Howard is there to get is $20,000, which I did a little inflation cost analysis. In today's money is about $150,000.
It's a lot of money.
Which is like, especially for an academic, that's a lot of money. So like at the end, I mean, in the end, obviously he gets it, but it's so good. But I'll say this, like I get it's played, all of it is played off a comedy, which is why it works so well. Eunice is 100% justified in how she's feeling about Howard's treatment of her, though.
Yes. Like
the entire movie, she's like,
on her.
Like, yeah, he kind of is cheating on her, and he just, I get that they're not the best. I'll say this, though. Her and Larrabee at the end was a plot twist that as a child I did not see coming.
I think I kind of saw that coming myself, and I thought it was funny, but I wouldn't know what I would see as a child. Like,
yeah,
a long time ago.
I'm gonna say that I probably saw this for the first time when I was 7, 8.
Oh wow!
Like,
oh, so like me when I first saw my yeah.
I mean, when you first saw 7.
Yeah. So you were watching stuff like this while I was being traumatized.
Little glimpse into our childhoods. That's what you get.
That explains a lot.
It explains a lot of our personalities, I feel like.
Oh shit!
But the car chase is just so much stuff in it, because so you have the two of them. First, they start off stealing a grocery bike, which the bike guy is played by Ryan O'Neal's brother.
Okay.
Apparently. They steal the bike, and then so you have the mafia people in their own car. You have the documents guy getting a cab, and then you have the golf club guy just hopping into a random guy's car.
Yeah.
Which is just phenomenal. And then they pull out every gag. So you have the Chinese dragon part, because they ride the bike through Chinatown. You have like the guys walking with the giant glass panes.
The guy on the ladder.
The guy trying to lay cement. Like the trash cans chasing the guy, though, is never not funny because he looks so concerned.
He really does. It's it's hard to just not be going constantly. It's actually a really good movie.
Like it is, and like so yeah. I wrote down it's about a 10-minute chase scene. It starts at an hour and 6 minutes and ends at like an hour and 15 and change. So it's a long chase scene. It ends in them stealing a just married VW Bug. But I love the speeding. Kudos to the stunt drivers. That the Lombard Street, like the very windy street that they're just kind of going down. I've gone down that. You can't go down that fast. It's like not physically possible.
Good to know.
Like, kudos to those stunt. Like the turns are just too tight. So like, kudos to those stunt drivers, because this was filmed in San Francisco. Oh, so I also got the other things that they're all I guess accused of. I guess the other charges other than just the driving illegally into San Francisco base. That's unauthorized use of public waters. There's also grand larceny, assault with a deadly weapon, breaking and entering, and kidnapping.
It's a lot. That's a lot of jail time.
It is. And throughout all this, everyone's trying to explain things, and you've got the government guy the entire time, because I think because that was the last gag to be added, it always feels like an add-on.
Yeah.
But it's always funny.
I have to agree with the funny part. I didn't know about that. So
like secret government underwear is just funny. I can't explain why.
It's very 70s too, because
it is very 70s.
We live in a digital age now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to remember that there was a day and age that physical documents, like country secrets, could be stolen.
I think they were added because around that time is when there was a thing with the Pentagon Papers.
Oh, that would make sense.
That's why it was added, because they felt like they needed an extra gag, and that's what ended up happening.
Current events is a good thing to go off of.
It is. But through it all, Hello Daddy continues to be such a good reveal, because at the very end of all of this, Judy's been hiding herself because the judge is her father.
I did not expect that twist, and it was a good one.
That's also because that's also one that you have to have heard her say her last name at the very beginning when she introduces herself, because she does say it, but it's very quick, and then you hear Judge whatever Maxwell presiding. You have to hear those very quick lines to put that together. I don't know, something about the bolt cutters at the very end, because this is a very 1970s. Bolt cutters and a chain like that would not get through airport security today.
Never.
And paying off at $10, so paying off $20,000 at $10 a week was like 38 years, like 5.5 months. She would have paid him back by 2010. Oh,
wow. That's a really long time.
It is. I mean, like, it's 38 years, which is about right. I have two questions for you.
Okay.
Of our side characters, so you cannot pick Howard, Judy, or Eunice. Who is your favorite character?
It's so mean. So mean.
Yeah, so you can't pick one of them because it's a cop out at that point.
I really enjoy the guy that's the golf bag guy.
Okay.
The whole time, just keeps carrying around fucking
the golf clubs
and chucking them every now and then gets rid of them. Okay, I think I really like that gag. So I'm gonna go with golf bag guy.
Okay, I noticed for the very first time, and again, I've showed you how many times I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
The morning after the hotel room explodes situation, he's sitting outside. I never noticed before his golf clubs are smoking.
Are you serious?
And I said that to my dad. He went, "Are you kidding me?" He hadn't seen it either. He's watched it more than me.
I gotta rewatch. I gotta rewatch it.
So I
need this.
Yeah, I think my favorite is Mrs. Van Hoskins.
Oh, I like her too.
She's fun. Just so unapologetic. She doesn't care. I mean, she wants her jewels, and she's a society lady. And then when he's using his charm, she bites him.
Biting is the right answer.
Especially because using his charm is tripping her so that he can help her up.
Exactly.
And he's like chasing her down the hallway so he can stick his leg out. And then, so of our madcap scenes, which one is your favorite?
Mm-hmm. I got really uncomfortable when Judy's like out on the ledge.
Mm-hmm.
So not that one. I did.
Fair.
I got really uncomfortable. I was like, I don't do heights. That's too high up. Fair. She's wet from the bat. No. That is a recipe for disaster. No, thank you.
Fair.
Oh God. You asked me really hard questions. This is not fair. I'm gonna get my payback. I gotta go with the chase. It's such a good car chase.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to choose another one other than that one. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's kind of hard. No, the car chase is really, really, really good.
In my opinion, that's one of the best comedy car chases of all time.
It is.
Because it's just so, it's one thing after the other, and it's in such quick succession, and it all works so well. I think my favorite of like our big comedy scenes, actually, I go between two of them, but I'm gonna pick the convention dinner the first night. I was gonna say the shootout at the mansion, but it's because what I don't like about the shootout at the mansion is that also I really don't like Judy sending Eunice to the mafia drop-off site. I get like why it happens. I really don't like that. So I'm picking like the first, like when Bernsey exists for the first time, like when it's like talking about like he's talking about, you know, working with Leonard Bernstein to conduct an avalanche in E flat. There's just that one has that one. Other lines I didn't write down, but still is when they're under the table and like we're discussing vocal reverberation under spinal pressure. Vocal reverberation under spinal pressure. Yeah, you know, VRUSP. I think I better monograph on that. Like that one is just so many things. And that's a catalyst for everything else. So I think that's why that's more of my favorite lines, favorite scenes. So we did do stats. We decided to bring that in because, like, for books, we do like a 5-star rating. That's what you expect out of books. But for movies, we weren't sure what to do, so we ended up doing what's very similar to our TV show, which is character plot and personal. We added in pacing because you can do that for a movie, like. For TV shows, also I feel like pacing for Bob's wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
It wouldn't because it's only 20-something minutes long. They have to fit as much in as possible to that episode as they can. So their pacing is, you can't really judge pacing on something like that. I feel the movie you can
because you're getting one cohesive story, and like with Once, I can judge pacing. You can't, because I can tell how long they're getting to get. Like, we can make comments of why is this arc so slow, but
and that's the thing, you'd be doing a whole arc. You wouldn't be doing pacing per episode because it's not the full story. You'd have to do the pacing over the entire season or over the entire half season, and that statistically, that's not something that is easy to configure.
Yeah, it wouldn't. So it wouldn't work out so well.
I like this because it uses what we already do and adds but pacing is so important to a movie because bad pacing can kill a movie.
Mm-hmm. So what did you give What's Up, Doc?
So for character and personal, I gave 9. I did really, really enjoy it. It is an older movie, so of course there are aspects that are just kind of like, eh. So plot, I gave 8 because it's chaotic. We know how much I love chaos. I think the plot is great. There are pieces that I'm just kind of like, okay. That was a choice because it's a movie from the 1970s. that was years before I was even thought of. But pacing, I gave 7. Now, I gave pacing 7 because it is an older movie. You have the long opening credits. Of course, the end credits are what they are. But it's still not, like, while it is nice and quick, and I'm like, it's great for ADHD people or anybody who likes things that are very quick and the humor is very blunt and, you know, it's still kind of slow. There are pieces that you're just kind of sitting there like, this is kind of slow. Can we, like, you can't give me this really, really, really fast pace.
Yeah.
And then give me these moments where you're like, what are we doing? Can we please move on to the next thing? If it's going to be a movie like this where you're staying entertained like every second of the movie, you can't have these lulls where people are going to get bored, even though it's more of like it's a great movie, but there are issues.
Yeah.
So that's a 33 out of 40.
That's not terrible, honestly.
That's not terrible.
Because we never really decided what was like a good versus a bad score, but I would consider anything over 30 to be a good score.
I feel like it's similar to our shows where, you know, it's 30s is the max for that. If it's between 20 and 30, I think it's a good thing because it's staying in that top 10 number range. So.
Yeah. But yeah. So I guess I'll start from the highest score and go down. So I gave it a 10 for personal.
Of course.
I mean, it's my movie. I love this movie. I feel like that's going to be probably a consistent thing. I'm probably going to like personals for 10s are probably going to, if we picked them, that's going to be more likely. It's my childhood. It's my movie. It's my memories with my family. I gave pacing a 9. I personally, I don't really find slow spots in here, but I also, again, I know what's happening.
You're used to the pace.
I'm used to this. When less stuff is happening on screen, maybe that's when I was writing stuff down. So I really do like it. To me, it's an hour and a half movie. It's a solid length, but it's one of those things that, as I'm watching, like, oh, this doesn't feel like an hour and a half kind of thing. So I gave it but it was my first kind of realizing, oh, this really is over the course of 3 days, and by the end of it, they're saying I love you. That's interesting.
That was surprising. I'm like, already? Are you?
Yeah, but
are you sure?
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's fiction. I guess that's makes sense to an extent.
Eunice is happy. We're good, right?
Eunice is very happy with Mr. Larrabee because he'll actually listen to her. And I gave character and plot both 8s because it's, you know, there is character growth and that Howard learns to kind of, you know, be less uptight and kind of go after what he wants a little bit better. You have Judy trying to find a little more structure in her life, even though she's kind of starting the same process over again. You know, Eunice is now with someone who can probably make her happier as well. And at the end plot, also because at the very end, see Howard loses out on the grant because of the police situation, but then it turns out the other guy actually plagiarized, so he gets it back. And it's altogether, there's not a lot of plot.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't go into this looking for for a plot heavy movie. It's a screwball comedy. You're watching it because you're in the mood to watch chaos, basically.
Pure chaos.
You want to see a bunch of people convene in a hotel. At some point, the hotel room is going to go up in flames. There's going to be a shootout in a mansion, and then a car chase, and then everyone's going to be in a courtroom. Like that, I've just described basically most of the scenes of the movie. Like,
yeah, you really did. Like that's how crazy the movie is, though. It's also an unlikely place that you're like, okay, it's a hotel.
Yeah.
What all can happen at a hotel?
You would expect to see these different walks of life kind of people all convening in this one place for various reasons.
Yep.
So it all works out. So ultimately, my score is a 35 out of 40, which is
hey, we're not far off from each other though. Like that's not bad.
At all. Like it's a 2-point difference. And like
I was
this. Because I was like, I have to be a little more critical. Like I can't give it a 40. It doesn't. Not that it's not a beautiful movie, but it's the same reason why we give things 30s. Like for the TV show, it's just there's a special sauce, and I can't explain what that special sauce is that gives something a perfect score or something else doesn't. I love this movie, but as we always say with everything, we critique the things we love. Nothing is without its fault.
Exactly.
So,
like I said, that needs to be like on a pillow.
Yeah. We critique the things we love.
Look, we get enough fans. Merch will happen.
One day.
One day. That just needs to be one of the things. Thank you all for listening. Join us back at our regularly scheduled time to talk more about all things Once Upon a Time and Bob's Burgers. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our Patreon, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.